Hey everyone, there's a lot happening in the condo market, especially over the last 60 days. There's a lot happening in Majestic Beach Resort. The numbers are in for May. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. This is going to be a little bit longer than normal update for you. There's a lot I wanted to pack in here, especially considering what's happened in the last 30 days or so in the market. If you haven't been following any of our updates online about showings and market activity as it relates to the coronavirus, let me share this graph with you. What you're looking at here is a graph from a company called Showing Time. Showing Time is a company that real estate agents and brokers use to schedule a showing appointment. So if we have a buyer that wants to go see 5 condos, instead of making 5 phone calls or sending out 5 emails, we go to one place, the Showing Time centralized system for helping us schedule things. What's great about it is it also gives us the ability to see how much or how little people are getting out to look at real estate. So if we're trying to understand the health of the market, obviously we're looking at the number of closings. That helps us figure out volume or assess volume. We're also looking at what's happening with pricing as closings happen. But remember, closings are really a marker of what happened in the market 30, 45 days ago, since a normal contract takes about 30 days to close, takes a little time to negotiate, and a buyer obviously has to be out and be making some decisions and doing some research before then. So we need to know if we knew that this was going to happen. Early March, we knew that the numbers were really going to fall off on people getting out to look at real estate, and this is for the whole state of Florida. We were a little surprised to see that early April that it climbed back up this much. So look at where we are now. When you compare 2019 with 2020, we're right about even here over the last week or so with people getting out and looking at real estate. So the next thing we wanted to understand is, okay, if people are getting out to look at real estate, are they just getting out to get out, or are they actually doing business? So we've been tracking the number of new contracts that have been written to help us also understand what's going on in the market. The easy way to look at this red line over here represents the Panama City Beach condo activity, and it's the number of new contracts written in 2020 compared with the same week in 2019. So early in the pandemic, we were off 50%, down 25, 27, 72. One week we bottomed out at about 79%. Since the bottom, and it's interesting or maybe not surprising that this correlates exactly with that showing calendar or showing graph. Ever since this week, we've moved up. We were down 79%, then we were down 75, we were down 58, climbed to 46, climbed to only down 10, only down 9%. And now we're actually up 2% last week, year over year. We actually wrote more contracts last week than we did in the same week in 2019. So, there's a little bit here. You can see that the residential market kind of recovered a little quicker here than the condo market. Think about the fact, or it's not surprising to me, so many of the buyers for condos come from other areas. And with the vacation rental ban having been in place until a little over 10 days ago, it's made it harder for people to come and visit. Now that there are a lot more people in town, we know that this number is gonna keep going up and up and up. So if we look at the overall market, again, I always like to compare the newer batch of condos in Panama City Beach, anything built since 2006, with the older ones. The two markets act differently. So what you're looking at here is a very good comparison for Majestic Beach. This is all the condos built since 2006 in PCB. And remember, the red line represents the number of units that are for sale, and the black line represents the number of closings. And if you look real closely, you've seen this before. You know that we've been adding units little by little to the market over the last couple of years. And it's not terribly surprising in 1 month to see a jump like this when you know we haven't written as many contracts. You see also, not surprising here, that we have a little drop off in sales over the last couple months. If again, one of the best things to understand about this graph is this months of inventory number. 5 or 6 months of inventory, again, is neutral market territory. Prices generally stay pretty steady. There aren't big swings in negotiations. Things sell in a normal amount of time, which traditionally has been 5 or 6 months. I would contend that that's maybe 4 to 5 months now with internet marketing. So you can see that we were in an extremely hot market in 2018. Below 2 months of inventory is hot, hot, hot as it gets. All the terms that you know or you've heard about with sellers markets, multiple offer situations, condos selling very quickly, condos selling for over the asking price, over an extended period of time, a lot of appreciation. The markets continue to slow little by little. Remember, a lot of times real estate is a slower moving thing, especially if you compare it to like equities or something like that. So we've been cooling off, but we've been cooling off from scorching hot. So generally speaking, the market's still been very strong. We touched on neutral market territory here February, March of this year. We've been slowing towards that, so it's not terribly surprising that we finally landed there. And then right as coronavirus hit, things kind of ground to a halt. So really jumped these numbers up to where we're sitting in very, very much buyer market territory, based off of the pace that's happened over the last couple months. Now, remember, the last 10 days, 2 weeks aren't really reflected in this yet. This is closings now that we're looking at here. It's going to be a pretty different story in June. We've written a lot of contracts in the last couple weeks. There's a lot of activity going on. What will be interesting to see is, I'm sure we're going to recover some. What will be interesting to find out over the next couple months is if we recover back to neutral, even, or are we going to recover all the way back to a really strong seller's market? Everyone's got their opinion on that. I tend to think that since we've been for 2 years trending in this direction, that I think we might see a recovery and some people getting out and buying some condos, a little pent-up demand from the last 60 days. But I don't know that we're going to have enough to get back into a scorching hot market. I sort of expect, at best, neutral market territory when everything kind of settles in. To look at Majestic specifically, remember when we're looking at just one building, one project, the data, there's not as much data to interpret, so the numbers are a little skewed. But generally speaking, you can see it's the same thing happening here. The red line is moving up, more units getting added to the market for sales. Sales, black line is staying pretty steady. If you look at the months of inventory number, Majestic has been really as hot as any condo on the beach, even as through the middle of 2019, still really stayed strong through most of last year. Again, very similar to the overall market, cooled down to about neutral market territory here. April bumped up a little bit just because of the lack of activity in March. We've come back already to about a neutral market. It's a little misleading because of the sold listings in May. 2 of those were parking spaces. 2 parking spaces did sell for $10,000 a piece. We had one of the smaller 2-bedrooms sell for $295, and we had a 1-bedroom sell for $250. What isn't included in this, we had another sale, but it was supposed to close at the end of the month, but it didn't. It closed a day later, so we'll pick that up in June. We personally had a couple closings in there. So a couple things to think about. One thing that I tell condo owners every year about this time, it's a very popular mindset or a common mindset to think, okay, when it's time to sell, I'm going to sell at the end of rental season. If it's a rental condo for me, I'm going to sell after most of my heavy revenues in. Makes complete sense from a cash flows perspective. But think about this, and we just sort of illustrated the process of we need to look at units, we need to write contracts, then we have closings. We get a lot of calls normally right around or right after Labor Day every year to talk about putting condos up for sale, being past the rental season. This year, I think it's more important, more than ever. I think in any year, it's wise to get ahead of that a little bit. Bringing something out late June, early July, even if it can't be shown as much because of rentals, maybe only showing it on the turn here and there, gets exposure to the market. Plenty of buyers are coming from other areas. They're doing their research. A lot of buyers know that it's hard to look at units in June and July, so they're researching and planning trips for like August, early September. So by getting out there and being on the market, people are considering and researching and know about the unit that's for sale. Also think about this. If you're worried about retaining most of your summer's rental income before you sell, even if you put a unit up for sale early July, even if you got a contract day one, it's still very likely that you have a 30-day closing. So you're already into August at best. In the rare case, you might get a cash buyer that says, hey, I'll close in a week or 2 weeks. That does happen. It's rare. But if you start exposing something to the market or putting something up for sale late June, early July, it's really likely that even at best, if it takes 30 or 45 days to get a contract and 30 days to close it from there, now you're talking about closing in September anyway. Really, really think about that, because you have a little bit of an advantage right now. If you have something for sale now, it's a shorter list of units for sale. We know that more people put their units up for sale September, October. If we have one of those years where people are especially nervous about the economy, when you talk about a presidential election, when you talk about coronavirus, either economic reporting from the second quarter or possible whatever might happen in the fall with it, there's probably plenty of people who could be nervous about that. And so, hey, it's time to sell. I think I've had a good run. I've had a lot of appreciation in my condo. Let's sell it this year. And if you have one of those years where plenty of people are thinking that, then you have a swell of units come to the market all at the same time. And if you're selling, now you have a lot more competition, which the buyer, now it pushes things back to the buyer side a little bit. So if you are thinking about liquidating, you're thinking about selling this year, one of the better times to do it will be coming on the market late June, early July. You can call your agents now, start having conversations now about getting things ready. A good agent is going to take a little bit of time to build websites and get professional photography and that kind of thing. And depending on rental schedules, sometimes it can take a little while. I've got one condo listed now. We signed paperwork a week ago, and we're not going to be able to take professional photography until June 19th. So those are the kind of things to think about when you're talking about the timing of selling. September and October are very good months for selling and closing units. A lot of buyers, inexperienced and experienced buyers, know or find out that it's hard to look at units in June and July. Most of the ones you want to see are rented. So they're patient whether they intend to be or not. Come August and September, a lot of contracts are written. If you're already on the market, if you've already been on the market for people to evaluate you, you're going to have a better chance of getting something sold. If you're starting the process in September, maybe you're not on the market till mid-September. Now you're getting into some of these other potential things that could be happening where we might be. Maybe the economy looks a little bit different then. So if you're thinking about selling, think about that. Right now, we're in a very frenzied market on the buyer side. I think generally speaking, early in the year, it's things warm up. It's beach season. Hey, it's time to get down to the beach. I think that's exaggerated a little bit this year with we've been cooped up. So not only are people excited about getting to the beach, maybe buying that condo they've been waiting to buy, but now they've just been waiting to get out and do anything that feels somewhat normal. So sellers right now can capitalize on that mindset a little bit. So think about that in your timing if you're thinking about selling in 2020. Long term, we don't see a lot of possibilities for a big crash in the condo market. There's a lot of equity. People have plenty of equity in a lot of their units, so we don't see that happening. More than likely, you might have one or two or a small group of people get nervous and really want or need to sell quickly. If that happens, although prices generally move slower in real estate than they do like equities or something else, when one person sells for a discount or drops a price in a condo, it can really reset pricing in the minds of buyers and agents pretty quickly. Once a unit like that closes, or if you have a second person drop into that price range, things can get reset very, very quickly. So right now we don't have that. Prices are holding firm. As in the last 2 weeks or so, that's not really reflected in any of those numbers yet, other than the showing activity. A lot of activity in the condo market. So there's a lot of optimism. Buyers feel good about things. They're ready to write offers, cleaner, stronger offers than you might get when they're nervous about the economy or it's in the off season, they're looking for a deal. So keep that in mind. I know that was a lot, almost 15 minutes of information for you, but I hope you found it helpful. We'll be in touch next month. In the meantime, be well.